Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar, where we will continue our discussion on a wide approach to cybersecurity. In our previous discussion, we primarily discussed the many different angles that a business wants to think about to get a solid grasp of their overall security solutions. Before we get in too deep, let me introduce myself. I'm John Iacchino, here with Mike Leonis.
Thanks, John. Hi, everyone. I'm Mike. As John was saying, with tech and AI changing how businesses work almost daily, we want to take a deeper dive into the primary topics to give a little more substance on what cybersecurity may entail. In today's webinar, we're going to go over email protection and what it means to actually be secure. In the ever-evolving landscape of digital threats, email remains one of the most prevalent vectors for cyber attacks. Today, we will delve into the intricate nuances for safeguarding your organization against these threats by exploring different strategies and technologies.
So let's start our discussion by looking at the intricacies of scam emails, where the use of artificial intelligence poses a growing challenge. Cyber criminals are increasingly leveraging AI language models like ChatGPT to craft emails that closely mimic legitimate communication, making them exceedingly difficult to discern from genuine correspondence. Gone are the days of misspellings and scams just trying to sell you pills. These scams often exploit psychological triggers such as urgency or confidentiality, to not give the recipient time to think about whether a message is malicious or legitimate. Personalization of names to the recipient from a known colleague is often glossed over and not taken as a potential threat, not realizing those same names are publicly available on the company website or LinkedIn. Curiosity is another major point of entry for scammers, as they often send vague links or attachments to cast a wide net, but also create a little curiosity in the user to just click and see something that was accidentally sent to them. Attachments often contain a link to another location or website that is very convincingly real, or is sitting between the user and their actual site, waiting to log any keystrokes that people may type in. The list goes on as well. So the following information we are going to go over will help mitigate these risks and overlap if one system fails over another.
Okay, so jumping into our first option to help with email protection, let's discuss standard filters versus third-party options. Foundational layer of defense is provided by standard email filters that come with your email service already. It includes automatic screening of incoming messages for known indicators of spam, malware, or phishing attempts. This all seems great when you first hear they cover this. However, standard filters only offer a basic level of protection. Their effectiveness tends to be limited to blatant spam and the ability to block certain senders. Standard filters lack the ability to tweak your settings and the ability to learn in order to correct false positives. To bolster defenses, it is essential to augment the standard filters with a third-party solution. These specialized tools can leverage advanced threat intelligence, machine learning algorithms, and real-time updates to detect and mitigate a broader spectrum of malicious activities. The administrator control with third-party filters is also heightened with the ability to more effectively create and review policies to block or review certain emails and threats more in depth than a surface scan for words in the body of a message. By integrating third-party filters into our email infrastructure, organizations can benefit from enhanced threat detection capabilities and proactive defense mechanisms that adapt to emerging threats in real time. The downside to an additional filter service, of course, they come at a monetary cost, often a set price per mailbox. However, we do see this as a great way to reduce the amount of spam and mess that goes into your inbox.
When configuring email filters, you must carefully calibrate the levels of aggressiveness to strike a delicate balance between security and usability. While aggressive filtering measures can effectively mitigate the risk of malicious emails reaching users' inboxes, they may also inadvertently flag legitimate correspondence as false positives, leading to disruptions in communication and productivity. Organizations must adopt a nuanced approach to filter configuration, fine-tuning parameters based on risk tolerance, user feedback, and evolving threat landscapes. Very often, this adjustment is a learning or test period for the tools, and administrators will take feedback from users to further mark false positives. Often, this is one of the items that may be used to increase spam filtering if a company is experiencing a sudden mass amount of spam, as it is a fairly quick way to heighten aggressiveness. The main downside, though, then becomes finding accidentally filtered legitimate email.
Okay, the next aspect of email security lies in identifying and blocking malicious attachments that serve as a common vehicle for malware distribution and phishing. Malicious attachments, such as executable files, or EXEs, macros in Office documents, and script-based payloads pose a significant threat to organizational security by delivering malware, ransomware, or other forms of malicious code. All it takes is the user opening the file. By implementing filters to block these high-risk attachment types, organizations can significantly reduce the likelihood of successful cyber attacks initiated through email channels. Very often, we're talking about specific file types such as installer files, zips that may contain any type of hidden data, Office files that run a set of processes when open, and attachments that contain no file type but play on curiosity for people to try and open them. The list goes on with specific file types, but having a general awareness of what files can do and blocking them appropriately is a great step in the right direction.
Playing off the attachment blocks as well, it is important to look at sandboxed attachment tests. Sandbox environments are closed environments used to test files and confirm acts of malicious intent. The sandbox is set up for the file to be opened and reviewed in an isolated environment. Afterwards, the sandbox is wiped clean and ready to test a brand new file. This often happens within a matter of seconds and adds a massive security hurdle for attackers to get over. Security teams can observe and analyze the file's behavior without risking harm to the production environment. By subjecting suspicious attachments to rigorous scrutiny within sandbox environments, organizations can identify and mitigate emerging threats before they can inflict damage or compromise sensitive data.
Organizations should look at robust mechanisms for link scanning and validation to mitigate the risk caused by risky URLs embedded within emails. Attachments aren't the only way to be compromised now. Phishers are becoming more and more sophisticated in their website builds and man-in-the-middle attacks by sharing just a simple link. Link scanning solutions analyze the destination URLs in real time, leveraging threat intelligence feeds and reputational databases to assess their safety. By validating the authenticity and reputation of embedded links, organizations can prevent users from inadvertently accessing malicious websites or falling victim to phishing scams. Very often, the website URLs will look familiar but contain slight changes, such as a 0 instead of an O, or an uppercase I instead of a lowercase l. A very convincing website may show up where the link is clicked and prompt for credentials that users enter without thinking critically.
And there definitely are ways users can think critically to prevent attacks such as spoofing when attackers pretend to be people they aren't. When a hacker portrays themselves as a coworker or client you are familiar with, it isn't often easy to see their disguise. Organizations can augment their email security by implementing email banners for external communication. These visual indicators serve as prominent warnings, alerting users to emails originating from outside the organization's trusted domain. By properly displaying banners or tags on external emails, users are encouraged to exercise caution and scrutinize the contents more thoroughly, especially when handling requests for sensitive information or performing financial transactions. Anyone can create a fake email and fake display name of someone such as a CEO, but with the external tags automatically being added, it is easy to see the message is clearly not from the correct work email account.
Okay, moreover, organizations must also enforce stringent spoofing policies, leveraging industry standard protocols such as SPF and DMARC. SPF enables domain owners to specify which mail servers and services are authorized to send emails on their behalf, mitigating the risk of email spoofing and domain impersonation. The SPF record is a public view to all email servers saying, you expect our email only to come from these servers, and any email from any other servers is most likely going to be spam. The next step would be to implement DMARC. DMARC builds upon SPF by providing additional validation and reporting mechanisms, allowing organizations to monitor and enforce email authentication policies effectively.
As we begin to wrap things up here, technological defenses alone are not sufficient to mitigate the evolving threat landscape when it comes to email attacks. Employee education and awareness play a pivotal role in fortifying a company's defenses. Having open communication and real-time teaching moments available to all employees helps reduce the risk and encourages people to think more critically. Regular phishing tests combined with comprehensive training programs on what to look out for empower employees to recognize and report suspicious emails effectively. By instilling a culture of security awareness and promoting proactive incident response, organizations can significantly reduce the likelihood of successful phishing attacks that lead to data loss and at the same time mitigate their impact on business operations.
Okay, in conclusion, email protection is a multifaceted endeavor that demands a holistic approach. Successful strategy encompass technological solutions, user education, and proactive threat mitigation. By embracing a comprehensive array of safeguards and remaining attentive against evolving threats, organizations can sit more comfortably in a more comfortable position of security. We hope this dive into email protection has given some insight and sparked some interest and discussion within your own organization to stay ahead of the game on threats. This is the first deep dive webinar that goes into more detail from a high-level view of cybersecurity's wide approach. We plan to continue these sessions to bring more knowledge across different topics, such as device risk, content filters, further standards and user education, as well as running penetration tests and vulnerability scans. Thank you for joining us all today. We'll have now time to go over questions. If you have any that you would like to discuss, Q&A chat is open. We've had a few questions that were submitted ahead of time, so we're going to start off with those as well.
If anyone else does have questions as well about the whole video or any discussion topics that they would like to talk about for email protection, feel free to put it in the Q&A below. All right, the first one we have here is what third-party filters or third-party email services for scanning do you suggest?
I could take this one. So we review a lot of different third-party scanning services over the years, and currently we still R&D a lot of these products. Right now, our preferred third-party scanning is Mimecast. We like it a lot, not only for its scanning capability. It does a really good job at filtering malicious emails or spoofing or phishing attempts, but it also adds a lot of value in its other services as well. It can do things like automatic signature application. It can do anti-impersonation protection as well. So if someone from the outside of your organization emails pretending to be HR or another user's name that's very similar but not exactly the same, they'll go ahead and tag that as possible spam. Also provides email continuity. So in case your main email service, so if you're using 365 or G Suite, were to go down, Mimecast can protect you in that it will capture all incoming email, and users will still be able to access it and respond through that portal while their main system is being resolved.
Yeah, I mean, agree on all fronts on that one. So,
yeah.
Next question we have up here is, why are zip files considered to be a threat? They're so common.
Yeah, obviously zip files are very common. Everybody receives them every so often. They're a great way when you have a file that's too large. If somebody's email system can only accept files based on a certain file size, you often can zip the file to reduce the overall file size and get it through the filter so the recipient does receive it. The downside and why they are considered a threat is that often malicious attackers will encrypt the zip files, and when they do that, the encryption prohibits the receiver's spam filter from actually being able to scan inside the zip file and scan the underlying files. So if an attacker has a malicious file, zips it, then encrypts it, it's gonna get right through the recipient's spam filter and right into the recipient's mailbox. Often filters such as Mimecast, like John mentioned, do have the ability to just outright block encrypted files, which that they'll often do just to protect them, just to protect the organization in the event somebody tries to do this. It's unfortunate because I know a lot of times there is a convenience aspect of encrypting a zip file just for other security purposes, like if the underlying files have confidential data in them, but it's not really worth the risk of actually opening a malicious file. So you are better off just outright blocking them.
It's one of those cases as well. Most of the time, zips are probably going to be okay, but it's just that one time that, of course, the sandbox can't open it and review exactly what's happening. Then you kind of just get caught with.
It's going to be a bad day for everyone.
Yeah,
exactly. The next question we have up here is, do all of these add on more cost? Is there anything in here that can be done for free?
So most of the time, any premium services or specialized services are going to add cost, and that cost varies. Some are very low and still provide the added protection that's needed. But there are some things that can be done for free. For example, with Microsoft or Google Workspace, you are able to add an outside sender banner. So a notification that would appear on all emails if someone outside the organization were to email someone internally. And that provides protection against someone spoofing someone else's email address. So it could be the CEO at the organization or HR, etc. So that'll help users to be more mindful when they do receive those types of emails, and it'll confirm that it's not necessarily that person they think it is. So that's one thing that it can be done for free and pretty easily, and adds a lot of value and protection to the organization.
We touched on it a little quick second in the video, but changing the aggressiveness. So some services do allow you to kind of jump up the aggressiveness, but it is quite a large jump. And therefore, as you've mentioned, it's at that point is trying to reduce all of the false positives, essentially at that point. All right. Next question here we have is, we receive a high rate of newsletter spam. What is the best way to reduce this?
Sure. So this is kind of a common misconception that we see among many users, where the users will miscategorize real publications as spam. It's actually categorized as it's called gray mail, whereas spam is more so, the emails, somebody trying to sell you pills or something along those lines that everybody has received at one point or another. So gray mail is just kind of its own different beast, where it comes from legitimate sources, whether it's a news publication or a website like Amazon or such. So the best way to reduce this is, for one, is you can opt out. If it is a legitimate organization, they will have an unsubscribe, opt-out option at the bottom of the email. So you can go through that, and it is safe to do if it is a legitimate organization. If it's not, then opting out is not a good idea, and you're just basically increasing the risk because you're identifying yourself as a target. So yeah, you definitely want to check or the legitimacy of the publication before you can just go ahead and do that. The other alternative is, as I said, some spam filters offer gray mail filtering, where it will filter out real publications. But often, a lot of times, this is not turned on because it's not really, it's hit or miss. It's going to filter out all publications or none of them. So often a lot of clients, sometimes that are in the financial services industry, will receive mass emails from financial newsletters and stuff that they really are interested in. Turning on gray mail filtering would block those. So it's something you kind of got to tweak. And your best option though is really just taking advantage of the unsubscribe or the opt-outs.
With our names out there, we might all accidentally sign up for random things and then just be like, why am I still receiving this years later? Finally unsubscribing for common ones, for sure. What is a common way for scammers to get the CEO's name and email address?
So I think a lot of people don't realize just how much information about themselves is online and publicly available, through social media, organizational websites, just events that occur. That information is constantly being posted publicly, and for someone who's pretty savvy, and some who are not even that savvy, can access that information pretty easily. I think the most common way that we see malicious actors harvest information about users is through LinkedIn. I would say would probably be the number one source. Everyone's excited about their position at their organization or events that are coming up there, and they're posted on LinkedIn. And with a quick search, you can really find out the org structure, the CEOs, new users, etc., for that organization, and you can pull a lot of information from there. And then having that basic information, you can then start scouring the internet for more information about those individuals. And then I know that this question specifically mentioned getting the CEO name and email address. I think by far, though, we see it targets more so new employees. So they start out an organization, maybe they don't know everyone there. There's also a little, first day fear where they don't want to upset anything at their new position. So these malicious actors will prey upon that. They'll find new employees, and then they'll use the name of the CEO, spoof that, and then try to have them, provide credentials or, gift card scams, things of that nature. So really LinkedIn. And again, I think there are still some organizations who add that to their websites as well. I don't recommend it. It is nice to kind of have that information on your publicly facing website. But again, it does leave open the possibility of someone using that information, for malicious purposes.
Exactly. And I think even going with, if you want anything on the site, just creating one of those simple distribution groups of something saying, hey, this is a contact us email address. And then it could maybe send out to specific people in the organization if someone wants to reach out to a company. Additionally, I think with the MGM attack that happened last year as well, that was, I believe, kind of targeted or started through LinkedIn and seeing who worked for the company and who had sort of what position. So there's a lot of information definitely out there. Kind of while we're waiting to see if anyone else has other questions, just as a heads up, this is our first deep dive into the wide net approach of cybersecurity. So of course, this one is about kind of using email protection and what certain companies can do to kind of protect themselves and employees and stuff. The next ones that we plan on having, they're going to be throughout, next year and this year as well. We plan on covering the device risk, content filters, further standards and user education, as well as how does a penetration test or a vulnerability scan work, and how are those best implemented and remediated. So all good ones to keep your ear out for and join in as well. And it'll be the same sort of format where always open for questions that we can kind of discuss. If you're interested in what we have to say, or if you have something else that you'd like to chat about on those topics too. Is this, will you have a recording of this webinar so they have staff that they would like to view it too? Yes, in fact, we do record each of these webinars, and we do plan on posting them. So just in case as well, if you happen to join in late, you should be able to view the whole webinar in itself. And we'll make sure to go ahead and email out that link as well, so everyone can get that and show it to anyone else that needs to get the information as well.
And just to add that to that as well, on our website there is a resource page where we do have our blogs as well listed, and those go into topics that we're referencing here. I know James had mentioned the hack that happened at the MGM. So we do have one coming out on the user verification and the need for that, which directly ties into that MGM hack. So you can definitely check out our website as well for additional resources. You're starting off with email in our initial deep dive. That's kind of that top layer of protection. But as we go through these webinars, we're going to get deeper into systems and other protections. But yeah, email is really your first line of defense.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm excited to do the employee education portion as well, because there is quite a bit that we can kind of, bring everyone up to speed. There's plenty of time to hear about people saying, oh, I didn't know that was a thing, or how do I actually check for specifically, even in everyone receives emails. So just kind of educating them on how to best just spot something that's clearly a scam. Excited to kind of have that webinar too. So
especially with the introduction of AI kind of going really mainstream, those emails are getting better and better. You can't just pick out poor grammar, as we mentioned previously. They're getting really good at it.
Well, all right. No more questions here popped up, but as well, if there's anything that anyone wants to reach out for, Fairdinkum, we're always here. Fairdinkum.com as well. But yeah, thank you all for joining the webinar, and hope to see you soon for the future webinars to come.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.